I always say I was an accidental hotelier because I came to London with a couple of £100 in my pocket and saw that Forte, for instance, were offering hotels with live-in accommodation, and it solved my accommodation problem and my employment problem all in one, and I just literally fell in love. There was genuine care. We wanted the guests to have the best experience ever. So I started learning that and really honing that. I think the definition of hospitality is keeping that in mind and knowing that we have to create memories, making somebody feel massively important. And you have that one chance to make them always remember that. We've always got to look as leaders to see if we're successful because of what we do or despite what we do.
Welcome to another episode of the Sweet Talk podcast by the Hotel Magazine. Our guest on this episode is an incredibly respected leader in luxury hospitality, known for championing people-first culture, driving operational excellence, and shaping the success of one of London's standout hotel properties. She's recently added another accolade to an already impressive career by being named Hotel Magazine's Hotelier of the Year. Joining us to share her leadership journey, insights on the evolving hospitality landscape, and what it takes to build an award-winning team is none other than Anne Golden, General Manager and Vice President of Pan Pacific London. Anne, thank you for joining us.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
We're in a lovely suite here. Tell us a little bit about where we're sitting at the moment.
So we're all pretending it's our apartment in London. It's a what you would call a modular suite. So it's styled around an apartment with all different rooms. So, once we leave the living room area here, we have the butler's pantry just behind us. So we've got a separate door so that when dinner is served for you and your guests, you've got the ability to slip in and slip out without intruding on the party, and then through into the library study, and then the dressing room area, onto the bedroom, and then the bathroom.
And the bathroom is amazing, isn't it?
Actually, it might be nice, Sam, what you told us earlier about experiencing it before opening with your daughter. Yeah,
so before opening, myself and Lucy, my daughter, we stayed here to try it out. And there's a double bedroom. So I slept in there and Lucy said, I'm going to sleep on the sofa. And we'd had this really fabulous nightcap. We'd had like whiskey and we'd been chatting. And it's about 2:00 in the morning. I go to bed, so I'm at work the next morning. And Lucy slept on the sofa, and she just said, she had all of the curtains open and everything, and she said, the twinkling lights of the city, she said it was the most incredible experience, because honestly, this suite's lovely, but it comes into its own when it gets dark.
Yeah.
One of my favourite things to do is to be doing show rounds in the winter when it gets dark really early and people come in and they say, oh, wow, it's so fantastic. So yeah, that was a really magical
nice memory
experience
as well.
Yeah, really great memory.
For sure.
Amazing. So I think good place to start. Take us back to a young Anne, your upbringing, family, community school. What kind of environment shaped you the most in your childhood?
Well, I come from Middlesbrough. Growing up, being in a kind of industrial town in the northeast, it sort of shaped you in terms of resilience. Went to kind of a tough comprehensive school. It was really tough. A couple of things that shaped me was I'd started at school and we were using imperial measurement. That's how old I am, folks. Born in 1963, so I'm a young child. I'm like 6-year-old, 7-year-old, and we're using imperial measurement. And we've got the old money and everything. And then it goes to decimalisation. So we're all trying to get our head around that. And at the same time, they changed, the country decided to break Yorkshire. So Middlesbrough is in North Yorkshire. And at the time, they just decided it was way too big of a problem from an administrative point of view. So they split it up. And so we were really stripped of our identity. You know, we used to have North Riding of Yorkshire on our notebooks, and then it turned to we were, you know, in Cleveland, and nobody really understood. And so it was a time of a lot of change. It gets you very used to challenges like that and change. It doesn't sound like very much, but when you're 6,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
confusing.
of course.
I mean, I loved my upbringing. Absolutely loved it. I think we were aware that we didn't have maybe as much as everybody else, but it was just brilliant. And the school was like, it was kind of like, you know, it was a bit of a challenging, tough school, big comprehensive, as I said. But, you know, I just love my friends. I love the social aspect of school way more than the lessons. I left when I was 15 because you could in those days, and went straight to work.
Was there an early kind of experience in work or a hobby or responsibility that taught you something about kind of service, people, leadership, what you do now and what you've kind of transferred into obviously your vacation now?
I don't think that my early experience, I think I was terrible actually. I'm gonna underline it. I wasn't very good. I worked as sort of a stock control clerk and wages clerk for a time when I was about 17. And I always had a second job in a pub, which I probably shouldn't have done at that age, but hey. And then later on in a nightclub. And I always preferred that side of it to working in an office, even though the people I worked in the office with were really lovely. So I think it probably was the hospitality side with the pub and the nightclub that attracted me way more than working in offices.
Do you think that was just the kind of social side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was always more, like I said, at school, I was less interested in learning and more just like the social side. So I think that also played in with working in pubs and nightclubs. Yeah.
Quite handy having the two contrasting, like in the office and then obviously the people side, hospitality.
Yes.
You can kind of learn quite quickly. I can imagine that you're more.
No, definitely. I remember thinking the problem is there wasn't the money in that. You know, I did actually go full time into working in a pub at one point, but then reverted back to doing what I was doing before because you just, you know, I only wanted the money to be going on holidays and going out all the time, buying clothes and things. It was all very shallow, but I saw there wasn't any money in that at first, so I moved back into what I was doing with the office work.
So was there anyone kind of in the family before you you were the first one?
So I always say I was an accidental hotelier because I came to London after working in Guernsey. I was in the Channel Islands for a couple of years, which is brilliant fun. And then needed somewhere to live. Arrived in London with a couple of £100 in my pocket and saw that Forte, for instance, were offering hotels with live-in accommodation. So I decided to go for that, and it solved my accommodation problem and my employment problem all in one, and I just literally fell in love.
Was you thinking long term at this point, or was this just kind of,
I actually had another job. I had a job as a housekeeper for which I probably would have been really, really bad on Kefalonia. So they were very lucky that I stayed in London. And I just fell in love with the whole excitement of it. So I was working at the Strand Palace, which is honestly such a fantastic hotel. It was a big hotel, very buzzy, in Covent Garden. Just everything about it was exciting. Great team. I was on reception. We had just a really fun team of receptionists. So I was probably around 27, which most people sort of get into hospitality a lot younger. So I was probably the oldest receptionist on the desk, but I just absolutely loved it. So it was so much fun.
At 27, still quite a brave jump to leave where you've grown up to come to a big city.
Well, you'd be surprised because we were talking the other day about Dua Lipa. You know, she came on her own at 15.
Yeah.
I mean, incredible. She's kind of extraordinary. But then I think the average is around early 20s. If I think about the people that I've worked in hotels with, I'd left home like years earlier because I was working in the Channel Islands and then came over to London from there. But yeah.
Did you realise quite quickly that you had like a knack for this industry and you had a way with people? Because you're brilliant with people.
Oh, thank you.
Did you realise like quite early on that I might have something here. This is something, obviously you've said you loved it, but
I don't think I ever felt like that. No, it's funny, isn't it? First of all, I was very, very bad at the financial side of reception. I kept making mistakes all the time. That's one of the reasons why I got eventually my first ever promotion in hotels, was because I'd done so many errors and I knew how to fix and correct everything. They used to stick all the new starters with me, and I'd be cashing up, because in those days cash was king. Everybody had floats on the desk. So for our older viewers, you'll all be nodding and everyone else will be like, going, what? Because now, I mean, I think most hotels will have one cash float and that's it. So that's how I got my first promotion, was because I was so bad at that. I'd made so many mistakes and learned how to correct them that they moved me up to supervisor. But I don't think I felt like, oh, this is going to be like a brilliant career, probably until I got to the Cumberland, which was within Trust House 14. That was a much bigger hotel again. It's like a monster of a hotel. It had 4 restaurants, 2 bureaux de change, 4 bars. God, what did we have there? 900 rooms. I think it's more than 1,000 now.
Wow.
It was crazy. And then I think your emotional intelligence has to kick in, because you're dealing with so many people and the guests were quite a bit more challenging. And I think then I thought, oh, do you know what? I think I'd like to keep going. I think I'd like to... By that time, I'd sort of forgotten all about Kefalonia and my housekeeper job, and thought maybe I can
Do this.
You know, carry on doing this. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
did you see the benefits of like that switch quite quickly when you suddenly decided, okay, I feel like I want to push on with this? You kind of, when you put your efforts to that.
Definitely. When you decide this is something you want to do for the rest of your life, I think you do take it so much more seriously, don't you? And you just say, right, I am going to actually give up personal time to learn. I'm going to really throw myself into everything. We used to have a lot of committees at the Cumberland. It was brilliant. And one of the ways in which you could get ahead and be noticed was to be on, say, the social committee or the health and safety committee. So I used to just put my hand up for everything. And most of the time people would go, no, we don't want you. But occasionally somebody would go, yeah, all right then. There's nobody else. Oh God, we'll take
stuck
you.
in and involved.
Yeah.
Love
I
that.
think they were tearing the hair out with me at one point, because I used to apply for roles that were really beyond me, because I was desperate to have manager in my title. I was one of those people. And after I'd been turned down for about the 3rd manager role, a fantastic lady called Sally Brady, she sat me down, she took me to the house and she said, you'll get there. You don't have to be in this massive tearing rush. Just every day learn, and you'll be stronger. By the time you do get given that position, you're going to be much better.
Really honest of her to say that to you.
And it probably would have been brilliant if somebody had said it a little bit earlier, instead of me going through all of this.
A lot of time
rejection.
applying for jobs and CVs.
Yeah. Well, you've obviously really climbed the ranks since kind of starting out in hotels. What do you think were some of the biggest challenges that you faced early on, and how did you learn from them, would you say?
One of the biggest ones was my style of management, which I started to think about as I got further up as leadership versus management, was very different from the leadership stroke management at the time. So the way I'd been successful with people in my, in your personal life and your relationships with your family and friends and so on, had always been about being kind, being there, sort of someone shoulder to cry on, an ear to listen to, and just really being very involved with people, trying to help people as much as possible. And it sort of spilled over into work. I really felt like if somebody was struggling and wasn't doing very well, rather than throw the book at them, just sit them down and say, is everything okay?
Try and understand them.
Now, that is normal now, but it was kind of revolutionary at some point. And so I struggled because my style was very different to the leaders at the time, it was very command and control was the style. And mine was more seeking to understand. I didn't even think of it as a style. It was just that was
you
who
as a
I was.
person,
Yeah. So it was only later on that I realised that when people started to, like that switch started to happen, I was in a good place. I was in the right place at the right time, because
Yeah.
that was something that I'd been doing all along. Because I think you do. I think, if you want to be that person that berates everyone every time they do something wrong, sure, people are going to fear you, but it's better to be respected than feared.
Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah. I think just mentioning Sally Beck, actually, when we've interviewed her in the past, she had a very similar style of
Yeah,
leadership.
She does.
And
sure.
it's funny that they were in two kind of award categories that both picked up at the HMAs, but it just goes to show, doesn't it, that goes a really long way.
Oh, massively. And Sally's story is brilliant. I mean,
Was there any other kind of mentors or influential leaders that you would say had that style that kind of helped you with your development early on? Was there people that you kind of looked to and said you saw yourself in and you could kind of identify with?
yeah, there were quite a few people along the way that actually treat people as people and not just numbers, or and I think Bev King was one. Sally Brady was another. Jennifer Charlton, I think most of her career was airlines, and then she flipped into hotels for a while, which was great for us because she was fantastic. One of the things that was really great about Jennifer actually was that if we achieved something and it was predominantly her, she would make sure that we all got the praise. That's such a fantastic template for not craving that attention.
Really leads by example.
Leading by example, that servant leadership, which you don't realise it at the time, but you are obviously watching and learning, and you start to sort of imitate, don't you? Copy what people are doing and follow what they do.
Well, that's what I was going to ask next, was whether there was a specific piece of advice that you took from a mentor kind of in previous years and you've carried that on. I suppose that was probably one of them. Was there anything else?
One thing that always stuck with me, which was a great piece of advice, was, and Patrick Dempsey said this to not just to me, but to all of us. He said, we've always got to look as leaders to see if we're successful because of what we do or despite what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So, if we're having a really great year, is it just because the whole market was lifting, or was it because of our strategy? And he taught us that we had to know the difference.
Yeah.
So we were going to be set up, because if it was just that we were riding the crest of a wave because everybody was busy, then we might fall flat on our face the following year. So I think this introspection and this analysis piece really has helped, because it makes you realise that just because you're successful at the moment, if you don't know why you're successful, that's quite dangerous. You've got to
identify why things are panning out the way they are. Flipping it on its head, now you're obviously in a really brilliant leadership role. How do you spot those future leaders yourself, like amongst your team, and what like characteristics and traits do you kind of not hunt for, but do you see them?
Within our community, we've got, I would say, at least 50 GMs of the future. And I think whether they want to go on and do that is another thing. But we've definitely got that many people with potential, in my opinion. What I think I see is passion, but a real passion for people and being able to drive success through your people. Understanding the difference between managing and inspiring, because a lot of people can manage, but not everyone can inspire people. And I think that treating people really, really well and being fair and not beating people up because they've made a mistake, God, it just reaps so many rewards. So there are people that just naturally get that. And those are the people that I think will be the GMs of the future. Because I think if you can create an ethos and a culture within your hotel that feels very nurturing and kind and fun, people are going to want to stay.
It's especially important to be like that, to keep people in this industry as well. Obviously, as an industry, we're probably suffering a little bit with recruitment and retaining staff. A lot of people come in and leave. I think the stick isn't the way to keep people and make them feel infused by the industry.
No, I agree. And I think even just having a conversation with someone and saying, look, do you really think this is for you? Is a much easier way of exiting someone than, you're really terrible, sort of driving them out and then destroying their confidence. Not everybody can be a hotelier and not everybody wants to be. For some people, it's just a stopgap between what they eventually want to do. But don't make them hate hospitality. Okay, if they're not right, then there's a way of dealing with that. But I don't think we should ever be unkind to people.
Yeah.
I think kindness and graciousness should always go hand in hand when you're dealing with people.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, I mean, you recently won Hotel Magazine Awards Hotelier of the Year. What did that recognition mean to you, kind of personally, professionally? What was your first reaction to picking up the award?
Well, I think it was hilarious, actually, because I was just like, when Peter started reading down the description, we were having a bit of a laugh on the table with the team. And Kate Ruddock sat next to me was like, oh, well, that rules that person out then.
Yeah.
And we were just joking because I didn't, you don't think you're going to win.
Like a game of Guess Who.
Yeah, it was. And she was like, oh, that rules that person out. That rules that person out. And we were just laughing. And then it got to like a bit where I was like, oh, hang on a minute. I did that. So I suppose it's just surprise. You're like so happy. And like, it was such a nice surprise. A really good moment. I think in moments like that, it's just brilliant for the team. I mean, the whole hotel, we get so much pleasure when somebody in the hotel wins something.
Yeah.
Almost as much as if the hotel wins something. It's like, we all kind of feel it.
Yeah.
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 That's lovely.
It was really good.
Just going back, obviously, you've just been saying about you've got to kind of believe in what you're doing. What do you truly believe helped you pick up that award at the Hotel Magazine Awards?
Probably just the people side. I think because that is something that we all acknowledge
Yeah.
is the way for the future, really. Because if you think about the way that the future is going to pan out, we're going to have a greater emphasis on machine intelligence, aren't we, with AI, etc. And at least our industry is insulated in some way from huge job losses because you're going to need the two to work hand in hand, aren't you? Machine intelligence, emotion, and then the emotional intelligence of the humans. So I guess having that kind of side of it probably helped because that's going to be something that's going to be needed more and more and more.
So for the 2027 Hotel Magazine Awards, we have actually introduced 2 new categories, Hotel Team of the Year and also Lifetime Achievement Award. I just wondered what your thoughts were on those new introductions for next year, a chance to kind of shine a light on even more people.
There is a subtle difference between Hotel Team of the Year and Hotel of the Year. And if we look at Sally and her team and the Royal Lanc that won this year, which was so well deserved. And if you look at the list of accomplishments, work and passion and attention to detail that's gone into getting a hotel of that size to number 1 on TripAdvisor is quite staggering, right? So you're looking at expertise, you're looking at strategy, you're looking at all the other things that they've accomplished. And that really is like that hotel is just, rocking and rolling, isn't it? It's amazing. I think the difference between that and a Hotel Team of the Year, so you could have a hotel that's not necessarily as successful as the Royal Lancaster, but the team itself are working towards it and are starting to turn that hotel around.
Yeah.
So there is a difference. There's a distinction. Or you could have a hotel that's doing really well and that's the Hotel Team of the Year, but it gives you scope that you can hand it to a team that might not be in the most successful hotel in London, which I think is fantastic because you're recognising all the hard work and you're recognising that it's a journey.
Massive point is it is a journey. Every hotel is on a different pathway. Every hotel has different levels of investment, different ownership styles, and it's down to interpretation, isn't it? So it gives a little bit of
yeah. So I think they're two very separate things.
Do you think these accolades, do you think materially they change anything inside a hotel and inside its team? So, your recruitment, your morale, guest perception? Do you feel like it is significant?
I do. I think industry awards massively impact on the team positively. And I think that you can't underestimate that. People are so proud. They want to work for a winning team, don't they? Want to win for a hotel that's been recognised. It means a lot. I think that the guests may or may not be aware, but I bet you there'll be team members telling the guests, oh, guess what? I'm sure like in the Royal Lancaster, there'll be, their regular guests will know. And it does mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also remember that, we've got owners involved. We've got brands involved. So I'm sure Sally's owners are absolutely over the moon. This is a big recognition.
It helps quite a wide
Oh, it
range
does.
of
It does.
people,
There's
yeah.
a whole ecosystem of people who will feel pride and just an immense joy that, you get this recognition. It's really important.
What do you think guests value most in hotels today that maybe 10 years ago were maybe more overlooked? Is there anything you feel like guests are really tuned into at the moment?
I think kindness and genuine care.
Mm-hmm.
I think years ago you would walk into a luxury hotel somewhere in the world and it would be quite stuffy. It would be arms behind the back. It was very sort of, don't hate me, France, but it was a very French style service. And that mattered because people felt, oh, wow, I'm in this really amazing hotel. And then you got like the whole revolution with Ian Schrager and lifestyle hotels, which was incredible. And it was almost like they wouldn't not being let in. It was the whole velvet rope and peek behind the curtains. It was almost like a badge of honor not to get let in somewhere, be thrown out somewhere. Now I think people just genuinely want to be treated with real kindness, real empathy, have lovely engagement with the teams. We always say here there's a level of psychological safety. When you walk in from the hustle and bustle of the city to this very, very calming atmosphere, you probably felt it when you walked in. It just feels very serene.
Yeah.
And immediately all your troubles, hopefully they start to sort of go into the background because you just start to feel like a lot more relaxed. And I think that more and more people are craving this now as their lives become busier.
Yeah.
I think that's it. The world is so fast paced now. You don't want to come in and feel like everything's still frantic. You want to feel that little bit of a rest from all of this madness that's going on.
And like you say about where we are now in this room, you wanted it to feel more of like an apartment rather than a hotel suite. And it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, residential.
Yeah.
Rather than just one gigantic big room. And just going back to the whole Schrager days, which I was so privileged to work for Morgan's. And I always say that was my university. I learned everything there. I think what set Morgan's apart from some of the other lifestyle brands was, although it was like sexy and activated all the F&B spaces, and there was always like famous people there, etc., and it was meant to be like super relevant. But there was genuine care.
Yeah.
That was, we wanted the guests to have the best experience ever. So I started learning that and really honing that there. I think after COVID, people's priorities have changed. And also as generations, as older people become, they're still fitter and they travel more. We've seen a lot of intergenerational travel. So a lot of grandparents traveling with their children and their grandchildren. So therefore, I think people want this type of chilled kind of atmosphere that will appeal to every single member of the family.
I guess as well, that's instilled from yourself at the top. You need to kind of communicate that to your staff, and then they obviously relay that onto the guests as well, which I can imagine is a challenge.
Not if you hire in the right way in the beginning. And I've made some mistakes, but overall we hired for kindness, passion, humility, and attention to detail. We really tried to find those attributes. And when you do that, you find you've got this community of people who all have the same values. And of course we get it wrong. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say we've got it right all the time, because that's not true. But
If you hire the right people, typically they're able to identify.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
When you look ahead kind of 3 to 5 years, what would you like your legacy here to look like for guests, employees and the wider industry?
I think we're a hotel that's got big aspirations. So we've still got a lot to prove. You know, we're only turning 5 on the 1st of September, kind of a big milestone for us. But I'd like us to be known as just a place of serenity and kindness, and where people had fun with the team and felt perfectly safe and perfectly relaxed. Despite it being a luxury hotel and despite it being in the city, our repeat guest ratio is very high for such a young hotel. And I think, we're seeing people coming back time and time and time again. We're getting people on their 150th stay.
Wow.
And that's not just one night every time.
Yeah.
And it's mind-boggling when you think we're only open 5 years. So, people do love the style of the hotel. So I think I would love for people to say, yeah, it's really sort of push the kindness agenda, and we have a zero tolerance policy on guests who are in any way racist, homophobic or sexist.
Yeah.
They're asked to leave straight away. So it doesn't matter if you're the high roller in this suite and you're paying thousands and thousands of pounds a night.
That sets the tone for your staff as well. That's lovely to see. I know, obviously, you inspire a lot of people with your work as well. Your name is always cropping up with people when they're looking for kind of leaders, especially female leaders as well, strong female leaders. I know you obviously do a lot to champion that. So that's amazing. Yeah. We got some quick fire questions now for you. Something a little bit more fun and off the cuff. Early bird or night owl?
I'm a night owl completely. I really struggle with the early bird stuff.
What do you think is one word your team would use to describe you?
Kind.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, me too.
Your biggest pet peeve in a hotel?
I've got 2. One is a people thing. People who make you feel as if you don't belong there. And the second one is rooms, and it's mainly in America, I think London. Big shout out to the London hotels and in the UK and Ireland, because I think we've cracked it, guys. I think we're doing a great job at this. But specifically in America, because I've travelled a lot in America, is where you've got like a freestanding lamp and all these little pointless lamps everywhere, and then you get into bed and you haven't got a master switch.
Oh my gosh, I
Oh.
could not agree more.
Because I am a bit stupid, right? I'm not like an electrical engineer, so I don't know how to switch some of these stupid lamps off. So I'm like so tired. All I want to do is get into bed and go to sleep. But I think we do a pretty good job of it. I do. I think we're winning.
There's nothing worse. You get them all
Terrible.
off, but there's still one, and you
you're
can't
like,
work
where
out
is that switch?
where that switch
Where
is.
is
Yeah.
it?
Your favourite city in the world?
London.
Comfort food, go-to comfort food.
Oh God, it used to be sausage rolls, but
Where from?
Greg's.
Yeah.
But I'm a northerner, so
Sponsored by Greg's.
yeah, it has to be done. Sponsored by Greg's.
If you weren't in hospitality, what career do you think you would have pursued?
Well, I wanted to be a hairdresser. Why are you laughing?
No, I'm not. I just can't imagine. Well,
No,
yeah,
I know, and I'm not very good with hair, but it just seemed like a very glamorous,
yeah.
like that's what I wanted to be. But thankfully, big shout out to Kirby College in Middlesbrough that knocked me back.
Did they sit you down and say to you, maybe this isn't
They just
for
said
you?
it's not happening.
No.
And
Not
I was
as polite as
heartbroken
that.
for about 2 weeks, and then just cracked on. And I think it was the
Brilliant.
best thing that possibly could have happened.
What's the one luxury you can't live without when you're travelling?
Hair straighteners, probably.
That explains the Dyson hair straighteners and
Yeah,
hair
I'll-
dryers. And...
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I love a hair straightener. I think that's probably the one because oh no, iron. I didn't say iron at first because it really shouldn't be a luxury, should it? But you do go to hotels where
I'm steamer now because
Yeah.
ironing boards have disappeared out of hotels.
or a steamer. You almost have to like sell a kidney in some hotels to
Yeah.
get an ironing board. And
Which hotel role do you think is the hardest job in the building?
You got to say an answer without offending everyone else there as well.
You have. I don't think GM. I think GM's a wonderful job. I think a hotel manager might be a tough one because I think people get sometimes confused as to what is the general manager's role and what's the hotel manager's role. And I sometimes think they do a lot of the work and don't get the praise possibly that the GM does. The unsung heroes for me are housekeeping.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible.
Yeah.
Like but even just like the camaraderie of the team, certainly here, I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
I still can't get my head around how you turn around so many rooms in such a small space of time every day.
To a Forbes 5-star level.
It's incredible. What do you think the secret to great hospitality is? And I think you've answered this already.
I think emotional intelligence. I think if you have a high degree of emotional intelligence, then you're probably on the
money
for being a hotelier.
Room service or restaurant?
Restaurant.
Champagne or cocktail?
Cocktail. Anything with whiskey.
Mm.
I like a whiskey sour. Oh, I also like a Negroni as well.
Oh, yeah. Lovely. Planning everything or being spontaneous?
Oh, God. I'm so disorganised and the most disorganised person on the planet.
I can't believe that.
No, I am.
Really?
Yeah, seat of my pants.
3 guests, pass or present to host?
I know I did a podcast not so long ago, and there were who would you go travelling with, and I said Viggo Mortensen. You won't know who he is. You're too young.
No.
So he was in Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
And various other things, but anyway, he's very cool. Probably Pele. I love football, so probably Jurgen Klopp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Klopp would be
Yeah.
good fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would be good fun.
And I've just watched Dear England, so I'd probably have Gareth Southgate.
Okay.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. I
But
think.
World Cup themed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our last guest, Mike Baxter. So Mike is the co-founder of House of Gods Hotels. So they've got one in Glasgow, one in Edinburgh, the new one opening in Canary Wharf very soon. He asked, given that AI is going to fundamentally change the hotel business, how are you going to address this? And what are you going to be doing as a hotel to address this?
Oh, that's a great question. We're very excited about it because we have a lot of tasks that with some automation would make a lot of our team's lives a lot easier. So we're super excited about it. There's a couple of projects that we're involved in that would automate some parts of the business. Just the tasks, though, we don't.
Yeah.
So, for instance, we wouldn't automate switchboard. It's still always going to be our wonderful team.
Yeah.
And with reservations as well, we have in-house reservations, but you know, the sort of the confirmations and some of the admin work could easily be done by machine intelligence. I think it's just exciting because I think it's going to make hotels even better. But I think it's scary if you're sat in some industries where the human touch is not needed as much. So I do feel for people. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are quite worried about it.
I suppose it's a balance of using it to improve operations, but also freeing up staff to be able to that human touch and elevating what they're doing.
Yeah, no, definitely. And our teams are super excited about it.
Part of kind of the overall pod, we ask for each interviewee to basically leave a question for the next guest. What question would you like to leave for our next guest?
What they think would be different if women ruled the world.
I'd love to know.
I can't wait to know the answer. Cannot wait. So just wrapping things up with some more kind of leadership style questions. Just a nice place to start would be to hear from you what you think the best moment or highlight of your career has been so far.
Oh, there's been a few. I think definitely Hotelier of the Year. Thank you very much. And to the judges, thank you. Getting our first Forbes 5-star here was like such a natural high. It was incredible because we became one of the fastest, if not the fastest hotels in the world to get it after 3 months. Was
you expecting it that early, or were you kind of shocked by it, or
We were allowed to go for it after we'd been open for a month. We just felt like we didn't have anything to lose because we didn't feel like we're not we're not sort of a well-known luxury brand. We're not one of the big boys, if you like. So I don't think people were expecting too much. So we just felt like we had nothing to lose. I felt like the team were really gelling well and producing really great service, despite the fact, we had face masks on.
Yeah.
We were social distancing when we first opened.
That makes it even more impressive, I think.
Yeah.
In those conditions to
it was
really
open
thrown
and-
in the deep end.
It was pretty hard, but I felt like they were so passionate and just wanted to get it all right. So I thought, yeah, let's do it.
What experience do you think has changed your leadership style the most throughout your career?
Probably anything that was done to me that was unfair over my career. Yeah, if I wasn't given opportunities and things, that like how that stung, and you remember that, and it's not like you hunting around for a revenge, but you just you then want to make sure that you don't do that,
Such a positive way of looking at something negative.
because like how much it
Yeah.
hurt. So you certainly don't want to be doing that to other people, because once you get past a certain number of years in the industry, you have so much experience and so many things, positive and negative, have happened to you. I think it's interesting that the negative things will leap into your mind often.
Yeah.
And so you hold them with you and just say, right, okay, I'm going to make sure I don't make people feel like I was made to feel.
Just intrigued to know, what do you think that the best leaders you've personally worked for in the past have had in common, and how they've influenced what you've brought to the table as a leader?
I just going to sum it up in one word: humility.
Love that.
Yeah.
And just a final question, and this is how we kind of end it with all of our guests. What is your definition of hospitality, and what do you love about the industry?
Making somebody feel massively important. So if you think, we get people coming here for so many different reasons, and some of them are big milestone celebrations, and you have that one chance to make them always remember that with fondness and look back on it, thinking, wow, that was incredible. And I think the definition of hospitality is keeping that in mind and knowing that we have to create memories. That's what we're in the business of, really.
Yeah.
Building memories for people that they'll cherish. If you keep that in mind, that's really all hospitality is about. Sometimes when we segment people into leisure and business, I sometimes think, God, but these business people are people, and they just want the same things as the leisure people do. And okay, they might be on a certain rate, like in terms of a corporate segment rate versus a bar rate, but they're people, and we have to look after them and make them have a great stay, even if it's just for one night.
I think, as ever, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we're honoured to spend time here with you. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it,
Anne.
and we
It's lovely.
Always welcome anytime.
thank you.
Thank you very
so much.
Thank you.